Folks, so many people don't know they're on the edge of financial ruin. I'll get into that and then the latest home prices and insights for the city of Toronto for a week ending February 19th, 2025. I'm talking about something that I experience every week. I'm speaking to many people that want to sell and want to buy. And when we get into the whole conversation of selling and buying, almost always they're excited about the purchase. The sale is more of a chore. When we talk about getting their home ready, it's a chore. When we talk about the process of what do you do when buyers come and they're looking at your house? Should you be there? Should you leave? How do you keep your home ready? It's a chore. But the buying part is their future. They see whether they're upsizing, downsizing, whatever it is that they're doing, that new home is where their future is going to be. So they're more excited about that. And it's just human nature to feel that way. And when we talk about selling, buying, they're more excited about the buying side. That's where a big part of the conversation is. So their attitude is let's go look at properties. Let's, this is what we're looking for. They list everything that they want. And I say, well, are we buying first or are we selling first? And they say, oh, well, once we find the home we want to buy, then we'll put up for ours for sale. We just need, and they kind of got it figured out in the sense that they'll say, we just got to kind of have a closing date giving us enough time to sell. Do you know how many how many sellers are on the market now with that exact plan of I'll buy, slightly longer closing date, allowing me time to sell, that are still sitting on the market unsold? Their closing date is approaching. They are sweating bullets. And if they're not, they should be. They are so close to financial ruin, they have no idea how close they are. That line of, I sold just in time, I can buy now, I can close on the home I purchased, to I never sold in time, I'm in trouble, the seller wants me to close on their property, I can't. That's a fine line. Now, for most people, when I say, do you need the money from your current home, the equity there, in order to close on your new purchase? Very few people will say, oh no, it doesn't matter if I sell or not. I'm thinking of maybe even keeping my home and renting out. But I'll decide later if I want to sell it or not. But what we buy, financing's already organized for that. We're good. It doesn't matter if I sell. Very few people tell me that. Most people look at me in a strange way and say, what's the matter with you? Of course I need to sell in order to buy. Yet we're buying first. That's their attitude. We want to buy and then put our home up. Most sellers feel their home is more special than everybody else's. Their home is going to sell. There could be 10 other homes for sale in that community. Yet the new seller feels theirs is going to sell before all those other ones, even though those other ones have been sitting on the market. I'll get into the numbers shortly behind me when I get into that portion of this video. Lots of properties out there sitting unsold. Yet sellers feel, let me buy and then I'll sell. Many of these sellers, buyers, they won't go and spend $5 at a casino because they don't believe in gambling. Yet, in buying first and then putting up their home for sale after, coordinating the closing like that, you're gambling, or they're gambling with their life savings. And when I say so close to financial ruin, it's not an understatement. I've lived through this. We sold a property for our seller, and the buyer couldn't close when it was time to close because they hadn't sold their home yet. He was holding out for whatever money he thought he was going to get, couldn't get the money he needed to close. Eventually, we resold the property. My client sued that buyer that never actually bought and never closed on the agreement that the way it was written. And the courts awarded my client, they awarded in favor of my client. There was a ton of money involved. And eventually that buyer, the only way was to actually sell their property, and a big portion of their proceeds, their equity, went to my client because that's what the court judged in favor of my client. And yeah, a ton of money. It's financial ruin. That's what you're doing. Many of these people that will buy first and then put up their home for sale, they also believe the banks have okayed this. They either filled out some form online or they spoke to the teller. They have nothing in writing. Like, you need to know, not only do you need to sell first, you also need to know how much your home should sell for in order to qualify for your purchase. Like, there's so many intricate parts of this whole selling and buying, but almost always you need to sell first. There was a market where selling is guaranteed. You put your home up, almost for sure, buyers were going to line up to overpay. We've experienced that market. That's not this market. You need to be really good at what you're doing as a realtor selling in this market. It's not a given just because you go on MLS and put a for sale sign on your front lawn that you're actually going to get the sale you want. Let me finish with this. If somebody's advising you to buy first and then put up your home for sale, and you know you need the equity in your home in order to close on your next home, I'd think twice. I'd be very, very worried about taking any advice from that person. If you think this video can help somebody you know, please pass it along. If you get value from what we're talking about, subscribe. And if you want to speak with me about your real estate situation, selling, buying, it's really simple. Below this video in the description, there's a link to my calendar. Click on that, book a time that's convenient for you, and we'll talk about whatever's on your mind. Now, let's get into the numbers. Here we go, folks. Let's take a close look at the Toronto freehold market. Here's a summary of average sold prices for 3 months for week ending February 19th. Now, I do have condos here just to give you an idea of where condo prices are at in relation to the freehold market, but we will be focused on the freehold market in this show. Tomorrow's show is going to be the condo market for the GTA. We're going to start off with detached properties for the city of Toronto for week ending February 19th. 79 detached properties were sold. 16 of those were at $2 million or more. Both those sales figures, 79 is down from the previous week. 16 down as far as property selling at $2 million or more is down from the previous few weeks. Now, sales were trending up. They seem to be going the other way now, which a little bit unusual. If we look at where we were last year, sales at this time, most years tend to trend upwards. Sure, you could have a week in between of slightly lower, but we're just not seeing the momentum of sales trending upwards right now. Average sold price, same thing's been happening. Average price was trending up, but now it's come down a bit. It's now sitting at $1,548,000. 1,548 is 6% lower than where we were this time a year ago. This year we sold 16 properties at $2 million or more. This time a year ago, it was more than double. It was 33 properties selling at $2 million or more. The median price of $1,290 is 7% lower than this time a year ago. When we look at the sales, we can see that there's fewer sales this year than last year. The amount of properties, though, selling at list price or more, that percentage has been climbing. We're at 54% now. Listings, many more listings this year than last year. And active listings is growing. We're now at 1,593, almost 1,600 available detached properties for sale across the city of Toronto. Months of inventory climbed up. We're at 4.7 months of inventory, the top half of what we would call a balanced market. That's the whole city as an average. If we kind of zero in a little bit more closely, when we break the city down into 9 different sections, for sure, some neighborhoods, some areas are a bit more aggressive than other areas when it comes to real estate activity. Scarborough, we had 22 sales. That represents 28% of all sales across the city of Toronto. Months of inventory sitting at 3.6. East York, Riverdale, there were 9 sales. Months of inventory sitting at 2.8, a little bit more aggressive. Hyde Park, only 4 sales. Months of inventory sitting at 3.5. And then you get some of the other neighborhoods. York Mills, Rosedale, average sold price, $2.3 million. We've often seen the average price there closer to $3 million. Months of inventory there is 4.1. There were only 6 sales. There's a lot of sales in Weston Yorkdale. 80% of those properties, there's 15 sold, 80% sold at list price or more. Months of inventory sitting at 2.1. So some areas, so when I talk about the whole city, the average, well, that's what it is. That's an average of the whole city. 4.7 months of inventory, kind of a balanced market. And then you're going to try to buy in Weston Yorkdale area, and a lot of the properties coming up for sales are listed with an offer date, and you're going to think, well, what's Santo talking about? It's kind of aggressive here. There's competition. You got to buy it right away, or you got to compete. That's the big city we live in. There's some neighborhoods acting very differently than others. But overall, pretty much a balanced market. Here's semi-detached properties. For week ending February 19th, 29 were sold. 4 of those were at $1.5 million or more. Average sold price is $1,304,000. 1,304 is 3% lower year over year. The median price is 2% higher. Median price is $1,218,000. Months of inventory for semi-detached has increased a bit. We're now at 2.3 months of inventory, a little over half. 55% of all semis that sold at list price or more. Townhomes, these are freehold townhomes. For week ending February 19th, 13 sold. 3 of those were at $1.5 million or more. Average sold price is $1,212,000. 1212 is 7% higher year over year. The median price of 1220 is 11% higher year over year. Months of inventory came down to 2.4 months of inventory. Here's a quick summary. Like in most places, you're going to be experiencing a balanced market, but it might not be in every place. And especially if it comes to semis and towns, it's a little bit more competitive. Price point has a lot to do with it. Location has a lot to do with it. So don't just go out with a one-size-fits-all attitude. What you're looking for, the neighborhood you're looking for, the price point, all that will determine what kind of a market you're going to experience. When I say what you're looking for, the other side of that coin is what you're selling. If it fits those criteria, you may not experience a balanced market. Thanks for watching. Have an awesome day.